Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are discussing a potential trade rumor between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now I'm going to have some criticism of this potential trade myself, but this actually does make a lot of sense, if you understand what I mean. The Columbus Blue Jackets are short, I believe, at least one forward. Unfortunately, we know what happened there. And they're short one forward, and they need a forward, and Jarnkrok might make a lot of sense for them. And the Leafs need salary cap space. The criticism that I would have of this trade is I think Jarnkrok is worth more than a 6th round pick, but this is what happens when you don't manage your cap. Right? This is what happens when you give guys like Ryan Reeves what he got, and you give David Kampf what he got when you should have just let him go and put Pontus Holmberg there, or whoever you have, or, it doesn't matter. You could put A, B, or C player there. When you don't manage your cap, you have a situation like this, where you have to give up a useful player. Jarnkrok is a really good two-way forward. Now, if you look into his playoff stats in Toronto, he has not been good. However, I'm not going to bury him too much for that. The reason being is because everybody's playoff stats have been bad in Toronto. Like, let's be real here. They've all been really, really quite terrible. I mean, the Leafs struggle to score in the playoffs, period. You would think the Leafs would struggle defensively in the playoffs and they'd be able to score like crazy, but it's actually the opposite. And Jarnkrok is no stranger to that. But here's the thing. Zach Hyman struggled in Toronto offensively too, by the way, and look at how good he's doing in Edmonton. He's performing unbelievably in the playoffs. So it's something wrong with Toronto and their offense, period, that's just having some issues, if you understand what I mean. I mean, his offensive output last year was about 10 goals, and he's getting paid about $2 million for that. So you could make the argument that, I think that his offensive output, even in the regular season, hasn't necessarily been where you want it to be. I understand that depth matters, but you have to be smart with your depth signings. And getting Ryan Reeves and David Kampf, who are very limited players, leads to situations like this where you need to get rid of a guy that's actually pretty useful, albeit he does have his own offensive shortcomings, if you understand what I mean. But Jarnkrok is a very good two-way forward. He's a very good player in his own zone, but the Leafs need more scoring, which they really, really, really struggle to do. In my opinion, I would try to see if the Leafs could possibly get a centerman back. If you've listened and followed along to my channel, you know how skeptical I am about the Maple Leafs center position. A lot of people say that their left wing is the worst position, but I disagree with that. I think it's center. So if you could even get a guy that is a third-line center, I've said this for a while, that would be great. Now, the reason I believe this is because their center depth is terrible. They could move Nylander back to the wing, where I actually personally think he's better. I know that they are trying him at center, and I know he did get injured, unfortunately, in today's preseason game, and we're all hoping that he is going to be okay with his history of head injuries and headaches, and he actually missed a portion of the playoffs last year, which is really, really unfortunate. But I honestly think the Leafs should take away from their wing position to address their center, right? If you are able to trade a Jarnkrok for a center, it would make way more sense. You get a proper third-line center. John Tavares can probably still play in a 2C, and then we all know who's playing 1C for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It shifts Nylander back towards his wing, where he's probably going to be the best, and then Jarnkrok goes out the door. Now, you would have a potential player like a Sam Lafferty, and Sam Lafferty had an excellent season. Well, a pretty good. He certainly was a very useful player for the Vancouver Canucks. Speedy forward, can play, good depth, and that didn't really turn out too good for the Maple Leafs, in my opinion. So let's hope if we see this trade, which it does seem like we're seeing this trade. There have been tons of insiders saying that, the Leafs are going to have to make some kind of trade, and we have training camp. So nearing the end of training camp, I will bet that you're going to see some of these trades go through, and the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Maple Leafs rumor makes a lot of sense to me because the Blue Jackets are short a forward. Unfortunately, the Leafs need to alleviate some cap space. I just don't like the fact that Maple Leafs are only going to be getting a 6th round pick in this potential trade. I think that they can get more than that. Jarnkrok is a relatively decent forward, albeit he is certainly a solidified bottom 6 option for the Maple Leafs. And even if you could get a center possibly with some size, that would be even better. But it has to be a third line center. They've had a huge problem of playing David Kampf in the 3C role, and I've really, really not liked that. He just can't play that high. He just doesn't have that offense. You need a third line center that can score you 30, 35 points. He doesn't need to be a world beater. He just needs to be useful. Now, yes, I know John Tavares would look good there, and if Nylander can play center on the second line, that would look fine, although you're probably taking away from Nylander's offense with that, and that's one of the biggest holdups to that. Because if Nylander's playing at center, you're taking away what his talent is, which is his nasty wrist shot off the wing, his pretty good offensive play, his ability to hold on to the puck and play in the offensive zone. These are things that he's just so good at. So this is why I would shift him back to the wing and get an actual 3C for this trade. You could also possibly make this trade a little bit bigger, like, to alleviate salary, sign Max Pacioretty, and then try to get an actual centerman that can play, right? I mean, it always puzzles me that this has been one of the Leafs' biggest holes that they absolutely refuse to address. They just refuse to address their 3C. I mean, I know they're trying it now, but I don't know. It just seems like something that you should address immediately. Although I suppose that from their perspective, they're probably trying to address it in the trade deadline might make a lot more sense for them. Anyways, I am going to leave this video there. If you could go ahead and like and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. And have a great day, guys. Goodbye.